Welcome to the Fiber Optic Center's Jazz Podcast Series with your host, Dave Reis, one of the area's foremost authorities on the South Coast jazz scene from the post-World War II years to today. The South Coast Artists Index thanks the Fiber Optic Center for their continued support of the arts on the South Coast and underwriting this 10-part jazz podcast series. Your host, Dave Reis, will help preserve the memory and legacy of the jazz artists coming to and from the South Coast and how they helped to shape what jazz is today. And now, Dave Reis.
Hello, I'm Dave Reis, and you're going to be listening to the podcast here from South Coast Artists Index, and I'm the jazz host. And for my guest today, we have Chris Poudrier. Chris Poudrier is a drummer. Let me run down some history about Chris Poudrier. Chris plays all styles of music, not only just jazz. He graduated from UMASS Amherst with a bachelor's degree in music education cum laude. Endorsements include Canopus drums. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Canopus, yeah.
Canopus drums and Regal tip drum products. In addition to drum set professor at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, he is also the musical director for the UMASS Dartmouth Latin-Jazz Vision Ensemble. Poudrier has been called upon several times as guest faculty for the Berklee College of Music's annual Percussion Festival. Poudrier's work is documented on many recordings, and he can be seen performing live in the greater Boston, New England area weekly, most notably with the Jim Robitaille Group. Jim's a fine guitar player out of the New Bedford area also. Chris' prowess extends beyond the drumming world, where he is an active composer, a skilled Irish Bodhran player. Is Bodhran right?
Yeah, Bodhran. Yep.
Bodhran. And an Irish, help me with that one.
Oh, that's the Uilleann pipes. Yeah, I had to give up, Dave, the Uilleann pipes. They hurt my elbows after.
Oh, is that right?
Oh man, yeah, that axe is brutal to play.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to hurt my tongue when I said it.
Oh man, yeah.
Like,
and actually, I guess Bodhran is a silent D. Actually,
oh, is that
Bodhran,
right?
Yeah, but I still play that. So.
All right, Chris, thank you for coming by.
Oh, thanks.
We're just going to sit around and talk about the jazz scene in the area. In fact, it's weird. We were just talking about the first time I met you was in this building.
Yeah.
Lonnie Gasparini, the organist, who I was going to have for guest, but unfortunately Lonnie passed away. Yeah, and Lonnie was playing, and you were his drummer. And I had known Lonnie for a while, and Tom Magerson, a friend of mine, had the fellow that owned the restaurant here. When I retired, my family gave me a retirement party. He didn't have entertainment, but I was involved with the high school jazz band, so they had the kids from the high school jazz band play. So he then asked me after that, he said, I've never had music. You think these kids would like to play on a Sunday? So I said, sure. So they did. And they had a gig here. That was their first gig on Sunday afternoons. And then later he wanted a professional group. And he didn't have a lot of money, so Tom Magerson, a friend of mine, suggested, because he asked me to look for some players, and Tom suggested if he doesn't have that much money, get Lonnie Gasparini, organist, and we wouldn't have to have a big group, and you were the drummer. And that was quite a few years. That was 2000. Yeah. I retired in 2000.
Yeah. Late 90s.
Yes.
And eventually, I think we did expand it to trio and quartet.
Yes,
eventually.
And then he used to have guest artists, too. Yeah. Greg Abate was a guest. Yes. Different guest artists would come on. It would be, you guys would be the house band with the guests after that when it paid off, Yeah. So, and were you at UMass already then? Yeah, I know you've been there a while.
Yeah, I actually started teaching there, I think, in 2004, 2005. Yeah. So, it was a number of years after I started to break into the New Bedford jazz scene, which really wasn't until the mid-'90s. I think I met Matt Richard was the first musician that I had met, and Zach Casher, does that name ring a bell? Ted Casher's kid on drums. He had recommended me to Matt for some gig, if memory serves me right. So that's how I ended up meeting Matt, and through Matt, I ended up meeting Jim Robitaille. So this is all stuff late 1990s.
Yeah, because it was 2000 when I retired. The year that you guys started here was a little after 2000.
And of course Rick Brito too.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to talk about Rick Brito today.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. In fact, my very first podcast was about the mural, all the fellows on the jazz mural, and I introduced them, played something by them, and of course Rick was one of them.
Yeah.
And I tell you a funny story. Rick and Jim Robitaille, for a short time, lived right across the street from me. And the fellow that owned the house, I don't have a garage, the fellow that owned the house said, Dave, I bought a house over there, I'm not using the garage, you can use the garage. So then those guys moved in.
Yeah.
I'd go park the car in the garage. My wife didn't see me for about 2 hours because they'd see me. We'd be in the yard talking away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Rick was quite a talent, as we all know, multi-instrumentalist too. And
Multi-instrumentalist,
just
right,
a funnier guy you wouldn't
Exactly.
talk to.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me just mention something about Rick. He was a well-known jazz musician, of course, but he taught at different schools. He taught at UMass, and he helped out the high schools, Old Rochester Regional, New Bedford High School. He'd be there helping out the kids and produced a lot of different things, produced recordings, in fact. So we can go on about him. And one day I wanted to do a show mostly talking about Rick.
Yeah, I mean,
because all the things he did,
In the area was lucky to get him back too. I think for a while he was out on the coast. Was he out on the West Coast?
Yes, he was on the West Coast, and like I said, we were neighbors, and I'd go in the house, we'd be talking, and he had this nice picture that I really like to look at when he was out on after Berklee. He went to the West Coast, and he performed a lot of big name bands, and he was on a gig with Ray Brown, two bands, and so he had a beautiful picture in his living room of him and Ray Brown. And Ray Brown was one of my favorite musicians.
For sure.
Yeah. So we were lucky to get him to come back, and then not only lucky because of his music, but what he did for all the young students. He helped out, the lessons he gave, productions he made.
He's one of those talents, man. Just ridiculous off the charts.
So can you tell us some stories about your funny ones, good ones, anything about your playing here in New Bedford? Because once you came, you were playing here all the time.
Yeah, so we're real quick with my roots, too. So growing up, I'd like to talk about that first. I was mostly a snare drummer. I was classically trained, and I played timpani, so and some mallets, of course, too. Mm-hmm. And I was always a self-taught drum set player all the way until I got to college. And I played drum set, but being self-taught in junior high and high school, it's funny. I mean, my first gig, Dave, I think I made $50 in sixth grade.
Yeah,
some of the guys are playing for $50 today still with the tip jar.
I was going to say
that's a whole other story. Maybe we'll get into later, but. So, but I was an accomplished rock player, and then I was into the fusion thing, too, in high school. So I was familiar with, the bands like Yes and Jean-Luc Ponty and all that really busy drumming type of genres. So I got to UMass Amherst. Well, actually, I went to Westfield State College for 1 year, and then my percussion teacher had suggested that I should transfer to UMass Amherst because they had a bigger program, so I was kind of shocked at it because I was happy as a clam at Westfield State. So I said, out there, I'll audition, so I did and got in. And, as a rock player and a fusion player, I'm walking down the hall at UMass Amherst, and I heard a percussion ensemble, an African percussion ensemble, or so I thought. Mm-hmm. I went in, I opened the door, it was one guy, it was Royal Hardigan. And he was just so influential for me to many different things as far as jazz. That day that I heard him, he invited me right in. He said, "Listen, you just sit right there, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I do." It was like literally listening to 10 guys, and it was one guy. So Royal was still in the area, as you know.
Yes, I remember Royal.
He's
yes.
In addition to just being an unbelievable drum set player. World class. And sometimes that world class label gets tagged on people, and I don't really know if it's justified, but that's just me. But he truly is one of those guys that is he's from out of this world, actually. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, he's a master African drummer. He went to Wesleyan to study that and get further his education, his doctorate, and all that. And so that started my journey to play jazz and learn about it. And then I also studied with Keith Copeland for a couple of summers when I was at UMass, and that was a great day because Keith was, at that time, he was in New York City playing with the Heath Brothers. So I would go to his house in Queens on the weekend, take a drum lesson for 2 or 3 hours, have supper with him and his family, and he would take me out to his gigs.
Yeah,
as a college guy. Can you imagine that? He
exactly.
took me to gigs in Harlem.
You were learning right on the scene.
Oh, unbelievable! And Keith, God bless him, he's long past now too. So he ended up moving to Germany for quite a number of years. So. That's pretty much the history. And then when I graduated from school, I did some rock things for a little while, and then I got, I started to, well, actually, I should mention too that I studied with the great late Bob Galati for a couple of years too. So that really even helped me hone my skills a little further. And then I met some of these guys down here, and then it just, it just snowballs, word of mouth. That's kind of how it goes, And it took me to, different places and whatnot with different genres too, because some of the guys are more straight ahead and some of the people are more avant-garde too, so I've done the whole gamut. But so that's that. So I'm trying to think of any. Yeah,
and I noticed it because, like I said, when you first came, first time I saw you was Lonnie. You played with Lonnie all the time.
Yep.
Then you start getting the New Bedford gigs, and you'd be playing with different groups.
Sure.
And like the word jazz, I say is like food.
Yeah, exactly.
It covers all kinds of genres, and it's all called jazz. But I would notice you playing with different groups. You'd be the drummer of different groups, and they play different styles, and you fit into whatever style they were playing.
Yeah, that's one thing
adjusted. You adjusted to whatever the band was playing.
I try to. That's the tip of the cap for me because I did my work. To kind of make sure that it was authentic too. And of course, how can I forget? I didn't forget. Obviously, Herbie King was a great influence
man.
as
he was
well.
One of my favorite drummers.
Of course,
Man.
Herbie had his thing where let's call it what it is. He didn't get along with everybody.
No, but I'm talking about the drums.
Oh, I know. But he got along great with me.
That's good.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So much so that, after a while, I said, there was some advanced stuff that in college I had never worked through. One of the things I'm thinking of was this Jim Chapin book. I approached Herbie. I said, would you mind if I grabbed maybe 6, 8, 10 lessons from you, and I could work through this stuff? And he was thrilled, and I was thrilled too. So there I was, just already being kind of like a pro on the scene, but studying with them too, because you learn from everyone, Dave. It's just you always learning if you're listening.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite drummers, of all drummers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. Things he would create and everything. He amazed me one day. I'm watching the concert, and he does Night in Tunisia. Night in Tunisia, he takes a solo with wire brushes. I said, man, he was so creative.
Yeah.
He was so creative.
Yeah, just a wonderful touch, too. That's the thing that jumped
Once he
out
got behind the drums, man.
For sure, definitely.
We were lucky to get him here in New Bedford too, also as a drummer.
Absolutely. And then for one summer too, I studied with the great late Fred Buda, and from what I understand, Freddie Buda was down here playing back in the day too, right?
Yes, yeah.
The Boston Pops drummer. For those people that don't know who Fred is.
Oh, Freddie's from Fall River.
Is that where he grew up?
He was from Fall River,
Because he was living in Stoneham when I took the lessons.
And it's funny, we had a famous, very popular group here, the Eddie Stack Quartet.
Oh,
So Eddie Stack's drummer, one day Illinois Jaquette comes, and Eddie Stack would play. The quartet would play. They'd bring a guest artist. And Illinois Jaquette came, and they were up here on New Bedford and at the Piccadilly. And so the rhythm section was outstanding. Manny Rose was on bass. And so Illinois Jaquette wanted to take the band back with him that night after the thing. So the other guys wouldn't go, but the drummer went. He went with him. Then he was sorry. He came back. So meanwhile, while he was gone, Eddie Stack picked up Freddie Buda, this young kid from. I used to tease the bass player because when Manny Rose was the bass player. So when Norman, the drummer, left, and Manny said, "Oh man, we don't take Norman's place. We get this young kid from Fall River." And after that, they got so close, and they played together for years until Freddie moved to Boston.
Yep.
And I always used to tease Manny, how can you play with that young kid? How can you play with that young kid? Freddie was awesome.
Freddie was a hip cat, man. He really was, and his son is just an outstanding bassist. Too,
yes, I should see them. And then by coincidence, my daughter worked for Symphony Hall, and Freddie Buda became the percussion, so they got to know each other. And then when she told him her dad was from New Bedford, he said, "Oh, I know who he is."
Yeah, man. Yeah. I do have one funny story, and it has to do with me and Jim Robitaille and the great bassist in this area too, Chris Lopes. We had this is going back early 2000s, I'm going to guess. We had a wonderful trio gig booked for somewhere out in Springfield or something. It was quite a ride to get there, but it was a trio gig. It was a couple hours, and it paid good money. It might have paid $400 or $500 a man, which was nice. It was worth making the ride for that.
Right.
We get to the gig, and it was supposed to be like behind a school or something in a park. And we get there, and there's no one there. And we see a stage, and there is no one there. So we're like, what's going on? Jim was amazing. It was amazing that he was able to track the agent down. And the guy said, oh, my God. He says, I can't believe that we didn't reach out to you and tell you guys that the gig was rescheduled to the morning instead of like the afternoon.
Oh, man.
So we got paid. He said, don't worry, you're covered, you're paid. So we felt so bad that we actually we actually legitimately set up and played one tune just to say, hey, and then we booked it out of there. But yeah. And of course, they think Jim forgot his guitar. He said Jim or Chris. It might have been Jim forgot his guitar. So we're on our way home 30, 40 minutes, and he says, oh, my God, I forgot one of my guitars. We had to haul it back there. So it ended up turning out to be a nightmare. But no, hey, sometimes those things can happen, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what I like on the podcast, is just let people know what musicians went through.
Yeah.
You didn't just get up there and play your horn or play your drums or whatever.
Yeah.
What you went through off the stage.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get out there. Yeah.
But Dave, it's tough now. I mean, there's so many great players up in town that are even faculty at New England and Berklee that are running around during the week playing for $50 or less. I mean, a lot of the guys are starting to play breweries and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I mean, the beer is probably, I guess, a perk, I suppose. But I mean, at the end of the day, you need to put a couple shekels in your wallet.
Exactly.
I guess,
See, this is the things that I like to get out there, the information, what it's like to be a musician, man. You have to have the passion, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I joke with a couple of the guys. I mean, sometimes I feel, because I don't do a lot of them anymore. I kind of had to take a little bit of a break because the teaching is exhausting at night because I work during the day too, So it makes for a long day, but I'm trying to think of the point I was just going to make, something about the money. We'll come back to it later, but I don't know. It's difficult,
Yeah.
It seems like things are declining as far as the pay. This is a lot of pay.
And the events, too.
Yeah.
I can remember on the weekend, I don't know, should I go see this guy down the street or should I go here and all that? And now weekends, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Even like Scullers in those places, they have a band in from Monday to Sunday. They have a band once in a while, one night, one show.
I remember back in the early 2000s, I was a regular up at the Regatta Bar. I love going there. All the cats came through.
Yes.
Saw Elvin a bunch of times.
Yeah. So,
I'll tell you,
Boston was big in the jazz scene at that time.
This is a funny story, too. You won't believe this. I was at an Elvin Jones show at the Regatta Bar. And at the end of the show, I look a couple tables over, and I couldn't believe it. You know who was sitting there? Robert Plant, the lead vocalist for Led Zeppelin.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
He was there with a woman.
Yeah.
And I said to my buddy, he said, check that out. That's Robert Plant. He said, nah.
Yeah.
He said, yeah. Sure enough, what do you say to a guy like Robert Plant? That'd be like, what do you say to John Coltrane if you ever met him, or Miles, right?
Yeah.
So I got it up to go over there, and what do you say to him? I say, hey, Rob, just a big fan. Thank you for all you did. And then I turned around to leave. This is funny too. So my buddy, his name is Bobby. So he's next in line, and of course he wants his autograph, and I'm like, oh God, just let the guy be, right? And of course then there was a stream of people behind us, like wanting to meet Robert Plant too, right?
Right.
So. He says, hey, Robert, can I get your autograph? And he said, yeah, sure. Who do I make it out to? He says, can you make it out to Bobby? And Robert Plant says, are you a Bobby? Yeah. And my buddy, I don't think he got it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, man, come on, let's go. But anyway, that's the English humor for you there, you're a Bobby. Yeah. But it's funny. I did ask Robert, I said, you're here to see Elvin Jones? He said, I've seen him several times over in Europe. I would never miss him. Yeah. So that's great to see, the genres, respecting one another, a guy like that going out to
exactly.
I mean, just seeing Elvin Jones is just ridiculous.
I like, I'm known for jazz, but I like all music,
Sure.
And I call some of my friends the jazz police because they'll come to my house and I'll be playing Cape Verde music, I'll be playing some soul music,
Right,
and they say, "Oh man, you playing that?" So I called them the jazz police.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I was always careful. People would ask me to take them to go see jazz. They want to know who I took them to, For the first time, I would like to see somebody like Ahmad Jamal or something like that. And that's why when I was on the radio, I didn't knock smooth jazz. A lot of guys would, smooth. Because to me, smooth jazz would bring somebody. They'd listen to that, then they'd advance on,
Yeah, exactly.
So the word jazz covers too much.
Yeah, it does.
And so...
I'm trying to think also, too. So I studied a little bit with, off and on for a couple of years with the great Bob Moses, of course. That was life-changing. He's wonderful. I got a chance to see Roy Haynes a bunch of times. I saw Elvin. I saw Jack DeJohnette, Max back in the day. Because he was technically on the faculty at UMASS Amherst, although he was never really there. I got a nice picture with Max back in the day, So, that's part of it, Dave. I mean, the lineage and, you have to go back to the beginning and kind of learn the ropes where it started, and then hopefully you can make your own imprint on what you want to do.
Right. And that's why I said, like, I would bring people in to see somebody like playing and then let them develop. Because there's so much things called jazz, Max Roach, that was my favorite drummer. I saw an amazing thing by him when I had seen him a lot in New York. I'd be in New York a lot and see him with his band. Amazing thing here in Providence, at the park there in Providence, they used to have Sunday jazz, outdoors jazz. And it was a Newport Jazz Festival, and I wasn't even on the radio yet. I was listening to the music calendar. My wife and I was taking a drive out to Newport Jazz Festival, and on the music calendar, UMass Dartmouth, they were saying that Max Roach would be there at the park playing that afternoon, so I went there instead. So Mike Matheny was playing first, and then when he came off, they took everything off, and then the guy sets up the drum set. Kid sets up the drum set. I said, "Where's this band?" Max came out, and he did a show, and he just told you about different drummers. This is how they played. This is what they did. And then there was a bunch of drummers sitting in front, local drummers. He said, "I'm going to do this with my left foot," and they said, "No, he can't do that." And then they were saying, "He did it. He did it." Max was something.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Tony Williams do a clinic, but I never had the chance to see him play, which was unfortunate, but as one of those guys, too, that just took it to the next level. And Dave, I just remembered the thing I was going to tell you before that I spaced out and forgot. So getting back to the $50 gigs, I was joking with a couple buddies. I almost feel sometimes I'm spending more money on printing music and charts for ink than I'm making on the gig, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, man. But, that's why a lot of these musicians are doing those gigs. It's almost like a little, very small paid rehearsal. They're working through tunes. And heck, we did that for Jim Robitaille's new CD that'll be coming out, too. We should probably talk about the great Bill Maielli, who has passed, too.
Yes.
So me and Jim and Billy
was
have...
such a nice player.
We had a CD out as a trio with Jim's first trio album, which Space Cycles is the name of that.
I have that.
Yeah, we were rehearsing for the new one, and I could tell Billy was just getting worse and worse and worse. He almost fell in my kitchen one time, and I just kind of caught him just in time. It was awful what he had to go through. He literally was... playing music saved him and kept him going when, by all rights, he could have passed a couple of years prior, what I mean? But we could see the decline, and it was just getting really, really bad, and then it just unbelievable.
Yeah, he was such a nice player.
He made the phone call to Jim one night, and he said, "Jim, I can't play music anymore." And he was gone 2 or 3 weeks after that. So we had rehearsed for almost a year with Jim's music. Is very, very demanding and wonderful, but difficult. So we got Tom Casal, a great bass player, a young bass player over in Providence, to kind of step in and learn the music, and then we had to kind of do multiple sessions. And that record will come out too. I don't know what Jim's going to call it, but maybe if you have Jim on sometime, he'll fill you in more about that. But so that's to the point. Sometimes it's hey, instead of doing a rehearsal in your basement, go out and play the stuff in front of some people. Yeah. I guess that's how you kind of semi-justify it, right?
Right.
But,
Billy was such a nice player.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, like you said, Dave, too, from A to Z. He could play anything. Unbelievable.
Right. Exactly. He'd play some gigs. He's playing that electric bass, but it sounded like upright bass. Yeah, he could make the sound.
Funny like dude, man. He was like he was a movie guy like me. So on the break, we'd be talking about movies and this and that. And we had a lot of fun. Just countless gigs we played with him over the years.
He played in New Bedford quite a bit.
I know. He played a ton before I even met him.
Yeah, he's played quite a bit. Yeah, and he's Neil Weiss, one of Neil Weiss's favorite musicians.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we should put a shout out to Neil for all that he has done, and you've done too, Dave, for the area. Thank you so much. But in a highlight gig, I know it's one of Neil's favorites too. Was that gig that I did with Sean Montero and Clay? Remember that gig? That was magic. That night there. Ben Cook and Billy on bass, of course.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think I wonder if Rick might have been playing horn. I can't remember if Rick was on that gig or not, but he may have been.
I can't remember.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But and in those days there were so many gigs, man, so many things happening, things going on.
Yeah, a lot more then than now. It seems like it's down to 2 or 3 a year that you're seeing. It's
You mentioned Roy Haynes. I'll tell you a funny story. We had a musician, Phil Barbosa, in the 40s, Phil Barbosa. And then he went under Phil Edmond, then he went to Phil Barbosa. And he had a big band. They played Martha Finney's Summer. Paul Gonsalves was tenor, my Uncle Joe Livamento on alto. And Roy Haynes was 17 years old. He was the drummer. Yeah. And they were playing in Martha's Vineyard. And he got a call to go to the Louis Russell Band up in New York at 17. So I would see him a lot after, he knew me as a little kid. I was a little kid. My uncle would take me and Paul, they'd take me on. So after that, every time I'd see him as a grown-up at a gig or something, he says, I was 17 years old when I left New York, and your uncle was 21, and he was for the Phil Ed Band. He would tell me that every time I saw him. Funny man, very nice man, too.
You could, kind of comes through in his playing, too.
Yes. He adjusted to everything. Right? Yeah. You didn't know what was coming. Yeah. But he'd always tell me that. I was 17 years old.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, those guys lived it back then. That was everything. It's...
Mass Avenue was just busy all the time, all the little bars.
The kids today, what's interesting I see from the education end of things is I see a lot of students that come through that have good technical ability, but they don't have that history, and they're not creative or original. It's almost like if you can go to YouTube and get this, look at that, and they try to assimilate, but they don't explore.
That's my opinion. Growing up with these guys, learning on the gig, on jam sessions, learning from each other.
They don't explore. That's the most important thing.
So the originality's not there.
No, it's very
from
the Totally. And then part of it too, Dave, quite honestly, sometimes these students, they just don't do the listening anyways. So that's a double whammy right there. That's another.
Right. And then again, and it's good that they get a job, but they learned in school, and then they go back to the teachers. So what they're teaching is what they learned in school. So the next is learning that, like what you guys learned on the gig,
absolutely.
Yeah, I remember in the old days, some of the guys got embarrassed when they were playing. And they'd have jam sessions, and they'd learn on the jam sessions. Guys,
whether it be positive or negative, you learn, and then if it's negative, you adapt quickly.
Exactly. Like the club owners made out the bar. A trio would play, and then the 4 or 5 guys would sit in for nothing. They'd have a band. They'd hire a trio. And then it would be funny because you'd be sitting there waiting. And then you see somebody come in. Oh, man, this Chris Poudrier, man. I hope he's going to get up there. And then you'd get up there. Then another guy come in and say, oh, man, look who's here. I hope he doesn't get up there.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But everybody was invited, and they learned from each other. A tenor player would be doing something. The other tenor player, how'd you do that, man? So there was a lot of soul in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't from books.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a lot of spontaneity.
it even extends, Dave, to the pop world too, because I have students, man, they don't even know who Steely Dan, the tunes like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kidding me, right? All that's and all the soul stuff from the '60s and the '70s and stuff. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at right now. I
Yeah,
think with the culture.
Right. That's why I started doing rhythm and blues in my house as a musician. My house was, and my family is jazz all over the place. But I was paying attention when I was a teenager, and I would buy all the rhythm and blues. The Five Keys, Clyde McPhatter, people like that. That was my thing, man.
Yeah,
and then when I got older, I started buying jazz. I heard jazz all day long in the house, but it wasn't me playing it. But
So one of the and what we'll see too is, which is no problem, of course, is at the schools. We'll have some kids that come in that are accomplished rock players, but they don't know anything about jazz or anything, and they want to try to learn.
Yeah.
So sometimes what I'll try to do is I'll try to trick them, and I'll try to, I expose them to who I believe is one of the most influential rock guys that got bands and drummers away from just having to slam down the backbeat on 2 and 4, and that would be Stu Copeland for the Police.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in, he busted onto the scene back in the late '70s with those first couple, 2 or 3 albums. Well, actually, the first 4 albums are tremendous, but the backbeat wouldn't always be present. He would displace it, or he would influence like a reggae type of a feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an eye-opener, even because, geez, I was still in college, but I didn't graduate until '81 from UMass. So I was still in college. So when coming from listening to John Bonham, who was actually great and world-renowned, obviously, for what he did, he had his thing, but Stu Copeland's thing, man, was entirely different. So that just opened the floodgates for drummers to be creative and not feel like they always had to be banging on 1 and 3 on the bass drum and 2 and 4 on the snare. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to use some of those types of tunes that have the triplet-like rhythm to get them to play with that feel, and then you can kind of introduce them to jazz. A lot of these. So what I tend to do with the student is, as far as letting them first hear jazz, because believe it or not, like I said, some of the kids haven't heard jazz, but they want to learn it. So I'll put on maybe Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, in here, Jimmy Cobb, that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Then right after that, what I'll do, I'll say, now listen to this. So this is where it can go too. So the cut I always use is with Jack DeJohnette from Michael Brecker's album, Midnight Voyage, because it's still kind of the same tempo as the Kind of Blue, but it's totally different. I mean, there's so much more going on, and the groove is still there, but it's just a different vocabulary. That's all.
Yeah. Yes.
But then
but you're introducing it to them.
Introducing it to them. Yeah, exactly. So
otherwise they wouldn't have heard it.
Yeah, because sometimes when you listen to Kind of Blue, there is some improvisation and some comping going on, obviously with the drums, but it's much more subdued compared to guys like Tony or Jack or Roy.
Right.
I think Jack DeJohnette's my favorite guy of all of them because, he was involved with the early Miles stuff, the electric stuff, and then he just hit the swing. It's just ridiculous.
And then with Keith Jarrett, that trio was unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw him a couple times.
Me
man.
too.
Were you at the Jordan Hall concert when he?
Yeah.
Did you remember that tune? They had a tune that went on for like 20 minutes. I swear to God. I mean, I was walking on air when I walked out of the joint.
But he cussed everybody out before he came. I got to see all of them because, like I said, my daughter worked there, so I get free tickets. So I got that. So I saw him every time he came, and he come out one day and he cussed out Boston before he played.
Oh man!
And then he did another gig. And so I'm sitting there with my daughter. I said, wow, he didn't cuss anybody out today. So he went off the stage, and they come out for photos. Come out for, and he comes out, and people are taking pictures. And he just give him hell. You paid the ticket to watch me. You didn't pay a ticket to take my picture. I said, I spoke too soon. But when he said, and then Jack DeJohnette had to follow him because he played the piano. He was amazing when he played.
Absolutely.
But for Jack to back him up, man, was a job, man, because you didn't know what was coming next.
Yeah.
He didn't even sit down in the piano. In fact, I read in Japan, they banned him from Japan because he played in Japan and he cussed the audience out because they were coughing too much.
Oh man! man.
But he could play, man.
Yeah,
when he
God,
played.
yeah, yeah.
When he played, yeah.
That's another guy, like if you met Jack, I never met him, unfortunately. What do
No,
you say
I never
to a
met
guy
him.
like that? You know,
Yeah, I
like,
never-
I'm not worthy. One of these, like Wayne's World or something. I'm not worthy.
Then I saw him at Jordan Hall with him, and then about a month later, Herbie Hancock came, and he was on the drums with Herbie Hancock,
Oh, yeah,
and he
no
fit in right in with Herbie Hancock, you know?
Yeah, one of my favorite albums, the Desert Isle Classic, as they call it. If I only had to take one album, it would be the McCoy Tyner Super Trio album. Do you know that album? It's two trios. It's got Ron Carter and Tony Williams, and it's got Eddie Gomez and Jack DeJohnette and McCoy.
Yeah.
It's a double album. Oh, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's an outstanding drummer. Man.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him a few times play. Not enough though. But
Yeah.
some of these guys, I mean, they're getting up there now. Jack's got to be in his 80s,
Oh,
right?
yeah. And Keith Jarrett, they say he's just out of it.
Is he?
Yeah.
That's a
I
shame.
don't know if he's still living. The last I knew, he was just out of it.
It's amazing that Roy kept it going for as long as he did.
I
you
know.
So,
Oh, no.
But he did, man.
Well,
I remember one thing, this would be a drummer thing for them to take note of, is I was at the Scullers, and Bob Moses was actually bought Bob Moses' ticket to go, you know, because Bob knew Roy quite well. I think Roy helped him out back in the day. So we were close to Roy. We could see exactly what was going on with his feet and his hands. And all of a sudden, during one tune, he took both of his feet completely off of the pedals.
Yeah.
And it was like he was just standing there, and all he did was he played with his hands, and you couldn't even tell that there was a dropout. It was a style. I looked at that, and I was like, you know?
Yeah.
No, it just struck me as like, wow.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. You know, funny story about Keith Jarrett. He, when Sean Montero did a thing live, and Jimmy Cobb was on drums.
Yep.
And so we're talking. John Harrison had a room where us after we're sitting there talking, and Jimmy Cobb was telling us, remember the guy who's a good piano player, not as good as he thinks he is, but anyway, he used to play up the workshop and Paul's Mall were side to side, and upstairs between shows there's a place they'd serve drinks and stuff, food. And he said that he used to play. He was a piano player at Berklee. He'd play there. They have somebody playing. Nobody paid attention, playing and all that. And then he remembered it was Keith Jarrett.
Wow.
He was at Berklee. So then, yeah. Excuse me. Then George Wein, I read George Wein's book, Art Blakey was in town, and he didn't have a piano. The pamphlet didn't show up. He ran up there, got in that room, and got Keith Jarrett to go with Art Blakey to do the gig there in Boston, and then he went to New York with him.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we listened to, everybody was listening to him, not listening to him. Everybody was sitting there eating while he was playing piano.
Yeah, oh, man.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Boston,
this area, man, so many musicians came through, especially Boston in the old days. Mass Ave.
Absolutely.
The original Wally's was a big place. And all the musicians, Dizzy, all the guys we hear, they just wanted to be around Mass Ave, just to play, just a jam. Yeah.
Did Charlie Parker play Wally's? He probably did. Was Wally's even there when Parker was on the scene?
He probably did. In fact, they said, I read about Wally's, and his son and daughter have the bar room. They bought it and named it after him. But he had like a building there on Mass Ave. There was rooms and everything. And the guys from New York would love the gigs because they had a room. And then they'd hang out. A couple of days later, he'd let them stay, and they'd be jamming around if they didn't have another gig to go.
Did the story go like this, Dave? Didn't a lot of the musicians that come to Boston also want to come down here because of the good-looking women that were down here?
Yeah,
I've heard that from a number of guys.
I go to New York all the time, hang out with Malco Joe. He and Paul and Earl Warren had an apartment, and later on Paul wasn't in there so they had an apartment, but they would be on the gig. So I'd be up there, and then even my wife, when we first got married, we didn't have kids for 5 years, be there on weekends. And one guy would say, "Oh, man, where you from?" New Bedford. Oh, man, I can't get away. Another gig there. I got to get a gig there. Those Cape Verdean women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I would hear, every time I mentioned I was from New Bedford, they either had a gig or they had wanted another gig there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I'm so funny you said that.
Yeah. And you know who's gone too? That was great help with everyone. Obviously, too, was Gilda. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's
many
gigs played in there.
I know. I used to go to a lot of Sundays. She'd get she and her husband, when they first opened, they get a lot of big names. They were working in Boston. Sunday afternoon, they'd bring them down. They'd do the gig and then get back to Boston for the evening gig. You know.
Yeah, and of course,
So
I would say even in the mid 2000s, maybe 2010 to 2015, I'm guessing, when things, even back then, Dave, things started to dry up a little bit, I think, for jazz.
Yes, that's
a
when it
lot
started.
of the guys down in this neck of the woods back in the day on a Friday or Saturday night would never give a sniff to looking at playing at her place because they would be making money somewhere else on a Friday or Saturday night when no one's got any gigs.
Yeah.
So she was very good enough to let us get in there. So
Sunday afternoons.
Yeah, and I remember even doing a bunch of Fridays and Saturdays here too with Jimmy and Billy and Dino Gavoni. He's down in this area too, another legend from the area, you know.
And then she opened it up for the South Coast Jazz Orchestra.
Yeah, of course, that's for years and years.
Because so, and she was active, right? The last day, she always did right by us, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. That was, but yeah, like in those days, you didn't know where to go to. There were so many gigs, and you didn't know who was going to walk in and sit in.
Man, you know what place sounded great? It's been long gone, or maybe it's still there, but I don't think they're doing jazz. Remember that place called Main Street? I think, was that the name of it? Right on
in the Cushnet.
No, I think it was in New Bedford.
But I think if it's the one up there, it's right off the line. You're in New Bedford and nothing.
The sound was really good in there. I think.
If that at Main Street,
I thought it was Main Street.
Because
maybe it's
downtown. We had Piccadilly.
Yeah,
and that's what big names come. In fact, a lot of artists came through before they were famous. You know, they were coming in out of New York. Before, like one day and they were there from Monday to Sunday. So every Monday night I'd go see who it was. So one Monday we go up and we see a hearse in front of the place. We go, hearse. We go in. Jimmy Smith. He wasn't famous then. He was playing with the Don Gardner Trio. Wow. That's how he carried his organ in the hearse. And then he became famous. A lot of Tashiko played there quite a bit, which was at Berklee. A lot of Berklee students.
Yeah.
And then went on. And then there were a lot of names that came in, but there were a lot of people on the way up played there.
We should give a shout out to, I know you've had him on before, John Harrison too.
Oh,
hey John, how you doing?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
You got to hear it.
I got to check that out. I will.
I tricked him. I went in. I go in his house, keep him company, and then like sometimes he needs rides, because he hasn't been that healthy. So we talked. So one day I brought my laptop and I recorded it and I brought it to them. I asked them if they could make a podcast out of it, and they fixed it.
Oh, man.
So because he couldn't come here, he hasn't been that healthy.
Yeah.
To listen to it, it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's really funny because he didn't know we were doing a podcast. So we're just sitting there in the thing. In fact, his sons were in the backyard. They're walking, talking to us.
Well, this is PG-13. We're not going to get edited yet, I don't think, Dave.
Yeah, right. Right.
Man.
But,
so Matt Richards' CD is out. It's called All the Colors Great. That's probably my favorite representation of what I've done so far. Matt's like Jim, very gifted musicians and unbelievable composers. They're just all the way, So and the music is usually very difficult too. So I've had to put a lot of work in on that, and we had some guest artists on that too. Michael Rocha and Phil Sanborn, and then Brian Steele. And there's a bunch of trio things on there. So that's available for people to check out too. And the recording quality is just outstanding. It was done down at Steve Rizzo's place, down at Stable Sounds, I think they call it, down in Portsmouth. Tremendous. So
if Matt does something, it's done right.
Yeah.
That's Matt.
It's funny. You probably talked to other musicians about this. Musicians don't like to hear themselves play.
Right.
Who knows you're playing better than you? That's what I say, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm proud of that one. And over the years, I've gotten more comfortable at recording because when you first start it's nerve-wracking, really. When you're in there, it's not like you're playing in a club. It's you're paying money and this and that. But I've gotten better at it over the years.
Yeah, the recording. Yeah. I went up with Neil one week on one of the Jerry Gibbs CDs with Ron Carter.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable. When you watch how a recording is done, it's not just how they do the cuts, stop again, and edit and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I'm a purist, but I do like things to kind of be real if I can. I really don't like to get in the whole edit thing if I don't have to. But, it is what it is. That's just me. But the thing I have problem with now, Dave, is the sound of jazz as it comes across by way of CD or album. It's not the same as the 60s and 70s, man, is it? There's no dynamic spread. No. It's kind of sterile. It doesn't seem like it comes down or it goes up that much. It really bugs me.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I know. Listen, I have vinyl from back in the 60s and all that. My vinyl collection, I play them more, especially now with the cartridges and everything is so good and everything. The vinyl sounds so good. And when I play the CD, I notice the difference. And a lot of the stuff I got on CDs after I have it, they had it on vinyl. When I play that same, like Kind of Blue or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that so Terry Lynn Carrington has a great show on Sirius Radio. I think it's, I'm not sure what night it is. Every once in a while I'll catch it if I'm in the car, but she's playing some really great, interesting new music that's done worldwide from all over the globe. But even as technically good as some of that stuff sounds, it just doesn't translate like when you're sitting in a jazz club, man. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's like I want it to be as quiet as a whisper to I think of sometimes the way like Herbie would play. It'd be blowing the roof out of the joint,
Right, yeah.
You need to have it all. And it just doesn't come across like that anymore. It's interesting,
It's so true, because I noticed that when I played the old vinyl.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'll like that Super Trios McCoy album, man. I've got that on vinyl. If you want to borrow it sometime, I'll lay it on you. You can check it out,
And Matt's new thing, where can we find it? Matt Richards?
I don't know if he's got a website. If you just Google his name, it'll probably come right up. But I know it's on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff, too. That's a whole other topic, too, Dave, where nobody's making any money. All these people are getting this music for free, and the artists are getting screwed, I know. Yeah. But I don't know.
This is what I want about these podcasts, what you're talking about. You don't just make a record, go out, make a lot of money, you get paid. What the experience, what you guys go through.
Yeah, so the great Vinny Colaiuta, who's very well known worldwide, he's a drummer, for those that don't know that are listening in. He has some podcast that's on Spotify, Breakfast with Vinny it's called, but he brings up... and this guy would know because he's, recorded with Sting and all these. The guy's a legend. I mean, so at any rate, he said that. I mean, I forget exactly the dollar amount, but he said that these record company owners or the platforms, I mean, they're making millions of dollars an hour. Hour. He said, I forget what it was. It's some obscene amount, $5 million, and the artist is getting completely screwed. Nothing. Or very little.
Yeah.
So
it's like I was reading, you see a lot of these Blake. I'm just throwing the names out. Named albums that never got put out, and now you can buy it for this and that. And I was reading with like Blue Note, a lot of these guys would rehearse, or they'd be, and that stuff would be sitting there. And they were recording them. They didn't know they were being recorded and stuff like that. And that's where a lot of these things are coming out. The guys have passed away, and they don't. It's a tough business. That's why I try to get across.
So as an educator too, so a lot of the students ask me about what they should do, or if I can help them in any way once they get out of school. And I mean, I hate to even say this, but I mean the way it really is I say you should try to find something that you like that's not music, so that you can make some money during the day. And you can still go out at night, like I do, because I work during the day, and play your ass off. And if you make some good money at night, hey, that's good. But then you don't have to worry about it because you
You're
get
not
everything
dependent on
covered.
that.
Of course,
Right.
And some of them get taken aback by that. They're like, really? You're kidding me? And I said, well, yeah, because, I don't gig a lot anymore because I'm working. I'm getting older too, I'm going to be 67 in November. So, I mean, I'll play, 1 or 2 times a week if I want. But if I don't feel like playing, I won't take the gig either. Because there's life, Dave. You know what I mean?
And there's not gigs that you could work 7 days a week. You might get a night gig, like the old days with a workshop, Piccadilly, they come in Monday, and they wait until Sunday night and have a jam session on Sunday afternoon. There's no gigs like that. The workshop, scholars, they come for one night, In fact, I'm going to my granddaughter's graduation next week in Harvard, and Scholars doesn't have any music that night, but the next night they got somebody, because I figured I would spend the night.
Yeah, okay.
In the old days, you'd walk in, you didn't know which place to go. You walk into Boston, which place should I go?
No, I know, yeah.
And that's one of the biggest places was Scholars. Before that was a workshop.
Yeah,
And then Fred Taylor from the workshop was running Scholars, and they let him go.
Yeah.
And
And I haven't been into the Regatta Bar for years. God, it's got to be 10, 12, 13, 14 years now at least.
I haven't
seen anything I want to see though either.
That's right. That's right. That's what I was just going to say. That I haven't seen that much live stuff that wants to get me out of the house.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
But anyway. So, want to talk something about your students, about the schoolwork?
Sure. So, the program's coming back a little bit. I think there was a little bit of a decline at UMass Dartmouth, like all the institutions, with the pandemic. I even heard that up in Berklee that the enrollment is down a little bit too, It was, But, so I have X amount of students. It could vary from any time, any semester, and that's fun. So I have a syllabus that's well drawn out. So and all the students are at different levels, so I have to kind of adapt to where they're at, of course. And my job is, honestly, I want to make sure that they can cover everything. Because they laugh when I tell them this, but, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Wedding band guys are making big money, especially if they don't use an agent. Some of these guys are making $800 to $1,000 a man, So, but that said, so one of the times, to go off on a tangent, one of the times I was a guest faculty at Berklee, there was back in 2008, 2009, for the summer thing they had going there. Another guest faculty member was the great Dave Maddox. I don't know if that name rings a bell. He relocated from England over to here. Known for playing with, everyone, amazing. XTC, probably Paul McCartney, Jet Hotel, the list goes on and on, Fairport Convention. So he was doing, the thing like I was, and we were saying, he says, these kids, that graduate, if they want to take a wedding band gig, that's the competition. It's like guys like Dave Maddox and myself, and we're all doing it. So I said, don't take that lightly. You have to be burning to get into a good wedding band. There's no room for hackers out there. All these guys are seasoned pros. So I say that's one option for you to look for employment where you can make really good money and have fun too. Although the one thing, that's a young man's game, as you can imagine, Dave. Yeah. They like to play long sets.
Yes.
So I'm too old for that now. Yeah. And I get too much gray hair. Actually, I got to cut it off. But my job there, long story short, is to get them so that they can be functioning from A to Z and cover any gig.
That's good.
Good. And the Latin-Jazz thing, thanks for coming the other night, by the way. The Latin-Jazz ensemble is a lot of fun because I write by ear. I'm a good composer myself. The knowledge as far as my theory and all that good stuff is like classical based back in the day because I was a music ed guy, so I was very good at that and the math end of things. But when it comes to writing tunes, as far as whether it be a pop tune or a jazz tune, I write by ear. I start with the tone or a cluster, and I go from there, and I know how to notate it, obviously, and when it's all said and done, I can get it down on paper so I could hand it to a guitar player so that they could play it. So I like teaching that ensemble because I have a core, well, I probably have 10 or 12 nice tunes that I can interject at any semester for them to try. And then I do different arrangements too. Like I got some nice arrangements like Equinox and Caravan. And so it keeps me busy. And again, I write by ear, and I'm very creative as far as not having a band play cookie cutter style. I see a lot of ensembles, where it's just like, okay, boom, there's the tenor sax solo. Now we got a trumpet solo. No, man, I don't do that. Maybe on one tune, but I get them interacting, and so they can trade, different soloists doing different things, and So that's a lot of fun. And
that's good.
Yeah, but you heard a couple rock tunes the other night.
Yes.
So if some of their roots are rock, I kind of try to get them to Latinize it a little bit. But now they're happy with it. Put it this way.
And they're happy with what they're hearing.
Put it this way: the powers to be haven't fired me yet, so I must be doing something right. I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was just going to say you've been there a while.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. They
were having fun.
Yeah,
I could see they were having
that's
fun.
all. Yeah.
Even after when they put the instruments away, they were happy.
Yeah, they were good. They're a good group. Yeah,
I like seeing that, especially with young musicians.
Yeah.
People having fun, enjoying it.
Yep. And again, some of those guys haven't heard some of the songs, and even what you heard there. I had to say, oh my God, like you got to go back and listen to this.
Yeah.
I have. So I also do. Another shout out to another guy, Bob Williamson, over at the Symphony Shop. Right, he does a lot of great things, right, with the big band and all that good stuff.
He's done so much.
So I'm helping. They asked me to help out with a few students, so I do a few kids on Saturday mornings. So I have. I have one student that he had never heard of Jimi Hendrix.
Oh my goodness!
Well, what do you say to that? So I booted up, Purple Haze, and okay, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Well, this is what we're up against. It's part of my gig, I guess, is to enlighten them to these different things.
Well, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
They're not just going to learn how to read music. And go play it.
Yeah.
You're teaching them the whole genre.
And a lot of guys, like that particular drummer there, Mitch Mitchell. I mean, he was more of a swing. He was kind of like a swing guy playing like rock. Like a lot of those guys were back in the day. And now the rhythms, Dave, with all the pop music, it's just so straight up and down, 16th notey.
Like
there's no swing.
It's like a machine.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's
no.
like
I know.
Machine.
Yeah,
that's
more.
why I say I enjoy my old vinyl records. I mean, I play stuff,
and
all that, but I noticed the difference. They created creativity in it.
When I die and I go to heaven, Dave, and I hope I'm going to heaven, and I hope there is a heaven, I'm going to be walking up there and playing in 3/4 time with the triplet feel, baby.
You're going to be in the big jam session up there. You can get in that big jam session up there.
Man.
Yeah,
I know.
Our friend Lonnie passed away this summer.
I know, man. I know.
And it's funny. By what a coincidence, I'm trying to get in touch with him, and I found out I see his obituary. So I went to the funeral. It was at a church. They didn't have it at a funeral parlor at a church, and they told stories about because he was a funny guy. Story about the things he did. Yeah.
So when Billy was right near the end, Billy Maielli, the couple other fellas had told me, it's probably. You should come down, or you come down to see him. He doesn't know. He won't know you're there. Right. He's like completely out of it. And I'm like, Dave, I couldn't do it because I wanted to remember him the way he was, not sitting in a damn bed like that.
Yeah. And it's funny, they talked about it because they just got up in the church and talked about it. People went up and they talked about it and about how he was laying. They didn't talk about seeing him like that. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, that's one thing that we're trying to. One of Billy's best buddies is trying to get on him. We got to try to do some sort of tribute. There would just be an outpouring of musicians for Bill Maielli. I would imagine for Lonnie too, if anyone wanted to put an organ thing together.
Do you know about the Wednesdays he used to have on Camp Street in Providence, Lonnie?
Yeah, I think I did a couple of those back in the day, right?
I thought so.
I think so. I remember those.
Different guys would say, Yeah, because I remember the drummer, young kid, would set up the drums.
Yep.
And he'd be aggravated because he hardly forgot to play because somebody was sitting in it. Herbie King sometime. I forget the other fellow's name.
I'm wondering if it was Nick, Nick Jupin. That's my student now. He's going through the UMASS Dartmouth system, but he's older. He's in his 40s or late 30s. Yeah, it could have been Nick because he was a disciple of Herbie King. So he used to always go around with Herbie.
Oh, when I told you that... the place down here where I got Lonnie the gig here, the restaurant. Yep. Nick was the drummer.
Yeah, okay.
He was in high school with I was working with a high school group.
Right.
He was,
that's it.
In fact, he's the one that told me about the gig at UMass Dartmouth.
Yep.
He texted me. He said, "Mr. Reis, he was there the week before."
Yeah, he's a great player. He's a great kid.
And it's funny. I see him all the time now because his daughter his son and my granddaughter are classmates in school. They're on teams together, so I see him at all the events.
Yep.
So we see each other again. But he was the drummer at the high school when the band played here.
That's it. Yeah, great kid.
Yeah,
great,
Kyle
great
Nasser,
player.
sax player. Kyle Nasser.
Yeah,
was
look
the
at
sax
Kyle,
player.
what he's doing, man.
Yeah,
Woo!
Nick was a drummer. Kyle was a sax
Yeah,
player.
Kyle's-
Masood, the bass player now with the South Coast Jazz Orchestra.
Right,
Was,
yeah,
He was.
yep.
That was the high school band to play for my retirement
Wow.
party. And then they got a gig here because of that.
And man, Kyle Nasser, man,
Kyle.
he's playing in the Big Apple
man.
frequently.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's made it, man.
Yeah.
But I talked to him about a year or two ago. He said, yeah, Chris, man, I still can't make any money to speak of. He says, sometimes it costs me money if I go out on the road. I hope I'm not misquoting you, Kyle, but just a tremendous person and an unbelievable player. And,
Brilliant kid, too.
yeah,
He
I went to Harvard and economics, I believe. That's where my son went to UMASS Dartmouth for economics. That's a brain of another level there.
Yeah. So, in fact, I had him on the radio with me. So since he was a kid, I knew him. So whenever he would come in town, he'd call me. And then he would come up quite frequently when his mother was sick. He was coming more often than now. She's passed away. But one day, my daughter-in-law's an eye doctor. She went for an appointment, and she told my daughter-in-law, says, Kyle said for you to tell Mr. Reis that he's going to be at Harvard. That was his last year. He was graduating.
Yep.
They have a concert, and some piano player named Jones is going to be there.
Okay.
So it was Hank Jones.
Oh,
but she didn't know.
no
She said,
kidding.
so I figured it was Hank Jones. And so we went. So what they did, they had a great thing. They had it on the theater, and they had all black. You're watching Hank Jones on the film, on the screen. And then all of a sudden, the music, all of a sudden the lights come on, and Hank Jones was there playing.
Oh, man.
So then they had Kyle and a couple of students come out play with him.
Yeah.
That was when he graduated.
Kyle asked me to do a gig, which I did gladly for him at Harvard. I think he was graduating or something, and there was a wonderful gig, and it was packed. It was like he was a celebrity. You thought it was like Elvis was in town.
Yeah.
It was tremendous. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, when he went to look at Harvard, he can look at it, and he's still a senior. He said, Mr. Reis, I went to Harvard. I went, and the band was playing, and I told them to play sax, and they said, you want to sit in? And he says, I sat in. They said, you'll be in the band when you get here. So before he was in school, he was a natural.
Yeah. And then he went right to Berklee after for probably 2 or 4 years, whatever it was.
Yeah,
and
he came back from New York. And then he went to New York.
Yeah.
And
Trying to think if there's anyone else we forgot in this area. God, I hope not.
yeah. And the bass player you were just talking about was from New Bedford.
With Jim. Not Chris Lopes.
Yeah, Chris Lopes.
Yeah.
Well, his brother played in the high school band where my daughter played. She played flute. They played in the same
Brian.
section. He played tenor.
Yeah, so
He
Chris
played
Lopes
sax.
is married to Nina Ott.
Yes.
And we've done tons of stuff over the years, not so much lately, but back in the day for sure. And then I did a gig back in the day with Brian Lopes and Chris Lopes and Nina. That was fun. Yeah. And that was
Dad was a big jazz fan.
Yeah, that was a hang too back in the day. And you know who I think started the whole ball rolling on that was Andy McWayne. Great piano player, great guy, educator too. Yes. But he's working a day gig now. He got out of the education
I often
thing.
wonder what he's doing.
No, man, he's not even
because
playing.
I get friends by him.
I keep whenever I talk to him, which is not often. I say, let's do a session of this player, get a gig or whatever, But I know, but he may have moved on. But he started that whole thing down at Gallery X.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of his thing in the beginning was more avant-garde. And Dave, the thing is, man, I've played a fair amount, not a lot, but a fair amount of the avant-garde stuff, and it's fun because there's no rules.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it. But it's not like you're playing a tune. You got to kind of follow the roadmap. You can't go completely bonsai crazy, right? But do I like to listen to the stuff? Not really, man.
I got to shake my head or tap my feet.
Yeah. No.
That's why I say jazz. The word jazz covers a lot. So I was always careful when somebody went to hear jazz with who I brought them to.
Yeah.
Because not that I didn't like Coltrane, but somebody never heard a sax, heard Coltrane, they say they wouldn't know what Johnny Hodges played like.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm working hard at now, and it's been for a while, it's been 8 to 10 years, but even more so the last 2 to 3 to 4 years, is I'm trying to work for clarity of my sound and my ideas, and then I'm trying to make connections with the idea. So there's a lot of people that will say this, which I really don't agree with, but that's just me, so be it, that, oh man, you might hear someone play and you go, oh man, that was amazing, and they say, oh yeah, man, I don't know what the hell I was doing up there, I don't even know. And I know Matt Richard is in my camp when I say this. I pretty much know everything that I'm doing. I want to know, because if I know what I'm doing, then I can make a musical connection with that idea and extend it and be musical about it. Don't get me wrong. I can shut off the switch too and just play whatever. But that's... I think that's what I'm working on mostly now, is taking an idea and furthering it and making multiple ideas that are related, and always working on my time, my touch, and
Is Matt playing at all?
Yeah. He doesn't do a lot, but I know he's very busy doing all the solo thing and the church things. And
I know he's involved with that.
But yeah, he's regularly doing stuff. I think he's got something coming up. We'll do a plug for him and Dino Gavoni. They got like a duo thing coming up at the Marion Arts Center, I think, in a month or two.
I want to hear.
So that should be good. Hey, if you want to go there, let me know. Maybe we'll grab a ticket. I'll go with you.
See what's going on.
Yeah, I'll find out what the date is.
Like an opening.
Yeah. Just a duo, though.
I did a thing for the South Coast Learning Network in the church in Fairhaven with Matt and Jim Robitaille.
Yeah.
And I talked about the piano, history of piano. I mean, the guitar and the piano.
Yeah.
And I would talk it, and they would play it. They would demonstrate it.
Yeah.
South Coast Learning Network asked me to do it. Yeah.
So if I could say one thing too, Dave, if for anyone listening, that hopefully they're still listening and haven't ditched us by yet. But a couple recordings to listen to would be me and Jim did the one that you have in your hand called, we named the band Parallel East, and the name of the album is Mantra. Those were songs. Some of the songs were written by me and Jim, or either or, and some of them were actually ideas that we had played as a duo session at my house, and we revisited these tapes that we made years later and wrote tunes around them. Mm-hmm. So that's a good representation. It's guitars, loops, and drums, and it sounds like a complete band. It's just being
Say the name.
Yep, it's name of the album is Mantra by Parallel East is the name of our band, the duo, and it's on Time Records. you can get that on Spotify.
Yeah, well, that's why I want you to say so people will know what to look for. So they'll know what to look for.
Yep, and then, like we had said, Matt Richards' new one, All the Colors, that's out and about too. And then the Jim Robitaille Space Cycles is a very good one. And then Jim will have another new one coming out too soon. I think he's in the mixing process of it now,
Okay.
It takes a while, Dave,
Yeah, maybe I'll get Jim in here when he has a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I would fill up the hour quickly too. But I guess the only thing we made a mistake on Parallel East is I think you're looking at the CD there. I don't think our names are on there. So people don't know who the hell it is. It's like a couple guys looking out of the weeds, which is literally, it's like we're in the jungle there looking. It's like, so I don't know. I didn't bring that up to Jim. We probably should have put our name somewhere on there.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't want to call it the Jim Robitaille Duo or the Chris Poudrier Duo. We just wanted to come up with something different. But that's us at any rate.
All right. Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Fiber Optic Center's Jazz Podcast Series with your host, Dave Reis. Please go to theartistindex.com for more information about the Fiber Optic Center, Dave Reis, or this 10-part jazz podcast series.